Somebody asked me one day, is this a football town, a basketball town, a baseball town, or a hockey town? And I said, I grew up a basketball guy, but this is a hockey town. Because no matter how bad the Bruins were, they would still outdraw the Celtics. Celtics were winning the NBA championship every single year, and they couldn't sell out the Garden. The Bruins have finished in 5th or 6th place of a 6-team league, and they'd sell it out all the time. And I couldn't figure out why. But I think it's because it goes back generations. That they started playing, back in the 1920s. And so fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers had watched and had enjoyed some great moments and suffered a lot of humiliation watching the Montreal Canadiens skate over, around, and through them all the time. So I would have to say that despite the number of championships won by all the different teams, especially in this century, that it's still a hockey town. I often wonder when I'm at the Garden and we're doing a live shot about 40 minutes before they drop the puck or a half hour or whatever, how some of these people afford tickets to the games. Let's say they're $135 for a balcony seat, and they're there night after night after night, wearing Bruins jerseys, wearing Bruins garb, wearing Bruins hats. And when the Bruins lose and lose in the playoffs, these fans they're not bummed out, they're grieving. They're grieving like they lost a family member. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed since I was a kid. It hasn't changed since I was covering the team. It hasn't changed since I've been watching the team. And I don't know what it is, but there's an attachment, there's a love affair between the Bruins and the fans that doesn't exist for any other team in this town. So my favorite Bruin, and I think everybody's favorite Bruin, especially if they know him, is Bobby Orr. But he played before I got into the business. Favorite Bruin to cover, Ray Bourque. I just liked the way he handled himself. I liked the way he talked. He never wasted any words. And my favorite night, which I think encapsulated who Ray Bourque is, was the night that he took his number 7 jersey off and handed it to Phil Esposito and had number 77 on his back. To me, that was a tremendously unselfish move by a guy that had a number that was his lucky number that he liked. And it's pretty hard to leave Phil Esposito speechless. But Ray Bourque did it that night. Now, the story gets better. So after the ceremony, you just walk down about 2 steps into the hallway, and we're all waiting for Phil Esposito. There's a gaggle of camera people there, photographers. And Esposito is literally wiping tears away from his eyes. He can barely talk. He's so choked up. He's so emotional. And, he said, this is something. So I finished, and I went back to the car with Dick Dunham to get back to the station. And Dick Dunham says, Lynchy, you're not going to believe this. That was the greatest interview of all time. I forgot to hit the record button on the recorder. I said, I'm going to lose my job. I said, everybody in town is going to have this soundbite. And Phil Esposito crying, and I'm going to lose my job. So I get back to the station about 10:15, and I called Bob Lobel. And I told Lobel what happened. And he said, have a cab over here at 11:15. We'll make a dub for you, and you'll have it on the air. We sent a cab. Channel 4 made a dub for me. We were on the air at 11:20. Nobody at home knew anything, except I knew. And I tell Lobel this all the time, and I thank him for it. He goes, I don't remember doing that. I really didn't like you that much back then. I don't know why I did it, but I did it anyway. But so there's my Ray Bourque story intertwined with Bob Lobel. And I remember one night, the Bruins hadn't won in Montreal since the 60s. And this might have been, I don't know what year it was, 86 or so. And the Bruins finally won a playoff game in Montreal. And in Montreal, they do customs in Montreal before you get back to Boston. So every time the Canadians would win, you could be walking through with a nuclear bomb in your backpack. All right, come on, guys, come on this side now. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead, get back to Boston. Make sure you're back here for Game 6, so we shut you out, and then you go on, and we go win another cup. So this night, the Bruins beat the Canadiens. Now they're going back to Boston, I think, for Game 5. And Custom says, open up the bag. What do you mean open up the bag? There's hockey pucks in here. Open up the bag. Now open up that bag there. Well, there's sticks in that bag. I want to look at every stick. And he's looking at every stick. Meanwhile, the Canadiens are halfway back to Boston. They're going to be asleep before the Bruins plane takes off. Harry goes out of his friggin' mind. He just can't, he's just yelling at every single customs person, and half of them speak French. They can't understand what he's saying, but he's mad. And we're sitting there, and in those days we used to fly with the team. And so we're waiting, and Harry's just laying into everybody. So instead of getting home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, because it's a very short flight, I think I hit my head in the pillow about 5 in the morning. And once again, as Harry always said, there are 3 things you can count on, Montreal: death, taxes, and the first penalty is going against the Bruins every single time.